Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Good Girl Rebellion podcast. I'm your host, Anna Campbell, and I'm very excited to be joined by a friend of mine today to talk all things bold visibility. So this is part of my Rebel framework, and the B is for our bold visibility. And Marti was one of the first people I thought of to chat about this because, anyway, we're going to get into all of this, definitely. So Marti is the founder of Weebit Social and has spent the last 10 years helping corporate teams, hospitality brands, creatives, and small business owners build their visibility and create communities people actually want to be a part of. And I can definitely attest to that as someone who is in your community. So thank you for that, Marti. Her work spans Instagram and LinkedIn strategy, training and ongoing marketing support, alongside running her own networking and co-working events in Edinburgh. She believes that marketing should fit around your business and your life and not be another full-time job that you didn't apply for. So that's really what we're going to talk about today. Marti's a big believer that you don't need to be everywhere, post constantly, or run yourself into the ground to build a community that genuinely cares about what you do. Basically, it's about using marketing to promote your business, but still being human. And she is celebrating her 10th year in business. Thank you so much for joining me today, Marti. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I love a podcast. You know how I feel about a podcast, so I'm always willing to be a guest.
I do know, and we've chatted on podcasts before. But what I want to talk us to kind of get into, because there's so much around being visible, and particularly, I talk about my Good Girl Rebellion. I think in a lot of ways we're very used to being a little bit more in the background. If we work for somebody else, we're getting on with it, we're doing the thing. But actually, when we have our own business, being able to step forward in whatever way that might be, and I think we'll talk about that today, is super important. We need to be out there. We need people to know that we are in business. And I don't think it necessarily has to be around being extrovert or anything like that, does it? I think it's about finding the way that works for us.
Yeah, 100%. I know lots of people that they would definitely call themselves an introvert, but they will still put themselves out there on video, which is actually surprising that they have the confidence to put themselves out there on video when they don't really like showing up and being visible, but they sort of understand that that's what you need to do. And I mean, like, visibility isn't about being louder, it's about being like remembered by the right people. So I mean, people can't find us if we don't put ourselves out there and we're not visible in a way that suits us. Like, I'm very much, as you know, into video content because for me it's super quick, super easy. You can do it a bit rough around the edges and it doesn't matter. It's not 25 minutes sitting on Canva creating a carousel. So for me, that works really well and that connects with people. But for other people, they would prefer something like, like Substack has had a huge emergence. And I know loads of people that are getting really good results from Substack, and like things like Carousel for like brand designers that are really into the way things look. That works really well for them. And they will put still photos on there and they'll put, like the font over the top. That's having a bit of a moment. But yeah, it's really just about finding the right way to get your message across in a way that works for you without running yourself into the ground, because that is another really big point I think that we need to get across.
Yeah. Okay. I'm making loads of notes here. Firstly, just for anyone who's never heard of Substack, can you just explain what that is?
So I feel like it's a little bit like Medium. Do you remember Medium? That was a thing.
Oh my
It's sort
goodness.
of like I was on it. I wrote a few things on it. But it's sort of just like another social media app where you can subscribe to people. I think is there a paid version and a non-paid version? I think so you can support people, can't you, by subscribing to their stuff. And it's basically just like a blogging app, really, which that doesn't work for me because as people that know me will know that I can get a little bit rambly. And so video content sort of works better for me because I can edit myself a bit better than trying to get my words out on paper, which tends to be like a 4-page document. Not great. We're all busy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's the thing, the key thing around this is a lot of times it's about playing to your own strengths. It's
Yeah.
what works for you, because I think that's what's going to connect with people. It's when we try to be all singing or dancing, but we're actually not, we don't really love a dance. That's fine. um it doesn't work, and then it doesn't feel genuine.
Yeah. And I think that's a little bit of a problem. I've noticed in the last few years, like a lot of people, so I'm quite sweary. I'm going to try and hold my tongue for this podcast. But I am quite sweary, and that does come out a lot in my content because I feel that if someone books me to do some social media training with them and I start swearing like a sailor, I'm not that bad, actually. That, I'm making myself sound really bad.
No.
But they would be surprised, if I was quite polite and restrained online. So I do feel like it's really important to be the proper you, not the you that you think is going to get you business on social media because you're all of a sudden quite loud when in real life you're not like that. It's okay to not be really loud and be dancing around. And like I've talked about um slow social media marketing a little bit recently. And I think that's a really important thing to remember just now in the whole AI, more content, post all the time. And like, there's a lot of people like me online and we're all giving information. It's probably very distracting and very stressful. Everyone telling you have to do this, you have to do this. But I think slow media really needs to have a little bit of a moment. It's more about intentional marketing rather than shiny object syndrome and like grabbing all the hacks. And like I'm going to diss trends a little bit, so I should say trends can be great, they can work really well for your business. I watch TikTok, I love lots of the trends, but it feels a little bit like um shiny object syndrome a little bit sometimes. Everyone's just jumping on trends and the message can get really diluted. So like slow media is a little bit more about why am I posting this rather than posting any old crap 5 times a week because you feel like you need to post every single day. Whereas 2 intentional posts that are really showing your message and showing what you're about are far better. That's going to stick in people's minds. And it's going to be about building trust over time with your audience rather than chasing attention today. So I think that's a really important thing to think about when you're trying to get your message across. I know there's a lot of noise and it feels like you need to be doing a lot, but just taking it a little bit slow and getting really clear on what you want people to know about you is a much better way to approach things, and it just feels more intentional. People are going to get more value out of it. You're going to feel like your brand voice is super strong and it's not going to be diluted by all the other stuff.
Yeah, I'm just making so many hold on, I just want to write this down. Yeah, because I've just got so many ideas and thoughts from what you were saying. And I think when I was first looking, I obviously knew that I wanted to speak with you about this because, I've been to your networking. I love being a part of, that community and all of the amazing women. It's so great. But so when I was first looking at it, it's like, right, what can we talk about? How can we talk about visibility? Because, it's not just about going, hey, here we are. It's a bit of that, but it's not just that.
Yeah, I think I have done a bit of that, to be fair.
We all have. But I think what I was looking at, I was seeing your more recent posts around slow media and community building. And because you have built up this business over these 10 years, congratulations, getting to the 10 years. I think what's interesting is there's so many of us and we do want the quick fix. Like we want that. It's like if somebody could, get me loads of like clients and I don't really have to do anything and it's all very easy. Obviously people are like, yeah, okay, that's what.
100% you take it.
But,
but I'm up there. I'm up the front.
Yeah, exactly. But actually what builds proper business is more of this slow media, this connection, this showing up, and it's all of that. That's what's actually working and what's actually important, and all of the rest of it is just a little bit of noise, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Because I think we're all agreed we actually don't need more content. It's quite a lot of content. People need like more reasons to trust you. It needs to be people are buying from you because they've consistently seen you and they've started to feel like they know you. And, we need to bring it back to like the really simple basics. I know it's not fun, it's not sexy, it's not quick, it's not going to get you like a viral content. But when I'm teaching people, it's never about the quick fixes or the hacks. It's about building up your content. So people, when you're not in the room, people can recommend you because they remember you because they've seen you consistently over years. And, like consistency is a huge thing that people don't really think about. And, they just want the quick fix, as you were saying. And it's not. It's not what gets you there in the end, it's not what people remember.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's so true. And I think as well, if we think about it as consumers,
Hmm.
and what do we connect with? Who do we connect with? And when we think about it and flip it around to like that, we're like, well, when I see Marty come up on screen, I'll wait and see what she's got to say because I'm interested, and I'll when I'm going through my stories, I'll have a look and see what shows you're going to see, and because I know that all the crime
Yes.
stuff you're talking about, so I'm interested. I know these different facets of who you are as a person because you share that, and you share that in an authentic way. And I think you're right that the AI stuff that's coming through
Yeah.
it's interesting because
Yeah.
I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a backlash, and it's happening. Actually, the backlash is happening, but I think
Yeah.
we will want to see more real people
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
and sharing, and that's what's going to connect us. So I'm not scared about the AI stuff at all. I actually think it's in some ways it's going to make us appreciate that even more.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's great for I do honestly use it for like thought ideas.
Yeah.
If I want to put
Yeah,
something in,
definitely.
I'm not writing a post with it because, you know, when I've tried to do it, it's never come out how I've wanted it to be. It's never sounded like my client. Um and it's just, like it's just not great. I saw a really funny thing yesterday. Um Adam Masuri, whenever he does an update, it does make me laugh because I go straight to the comments. If you don't know, so Adam Masuri is the head of Instagram. He comes on and he does updates, right? It is hilarious because the comments are just get a cup of tea and sit down because it's just people being angry about Instagram. No one's interested in the update he's talking about. It's every single comment is put Instagram back to how it was. Why can't I do this? Blah, blah, blah. We don't need this. And he did one yesterday. I think it was yesterday that came up in my feed. And it was about AI, of course. And it was this like, oh, I've got this amazing filter. And look, it does messy hair. So, like, it was just basically a filter that changed his hair. And the rage in the comments was insane. I mean, I sat there and read loads of them because it makes me laugh. But, you know, it is good for some things, but I think we are, as you said, we're not craving perfection. And that's kind of good for, people that are scared to show up online. And we'll probably talk about that a little bit later. But it's people want to see real people, real mistakes. Um, like we want to see thoughtful. We want to see what people actually think. We want to see like real opinions. We want to see real photos, like thoughtful as do I want to see this today? Is this useful? And perfection is sort of like, will everyone approve of this? Like if you're trying to be perfect online, you're hoping that everyone's going to approve of you. And I think AI is sort of a little bit like that in that the backlash is coming and we're a little bit like, we don't want to see all this. We want to see real people. We want to see mess. We want to see washing in the background. We were talking about washing in the background earlier. And I don't know about you, but all the posts I see, or I want to see, they're not perfect posts. They're the exact opposite. They're the things that make me laugh because someone completely screwed something up. And, like I did a post today about all the things we should be doing. And there was like quite a few comments about, people, it was resonating with people because we feel like we're being pushed all this stuff. And I'm like a woman of a certain age. So I'm being pushed collagen pretty much every single day of my life, which I can't afford to buy all these supplements. I'm not interested in that. I don't know how I got onto that. That's just a little rant of my own. But, we're being pushed all these things constantly. And I think you're right. There is a real need to see real people, real stories, real mistakes, people that don't look perfect. 100% I am all for that. I've always been about like a little bit rough and ready because rough and ready is far more interesting than perfection. That's just a
It
fact.
is. It is. And I think I'm really pleased that like a few years ago, there was very much this whole idea of having a very curated feed, and your your grid needed to look a certain way. And,
Yeah.
and the videos, you felt like you had to, they had to be proper productions and things like that. And that certainly, I'm so glad that we've moved away from that. That's just
Yeah.
not a thing anymore. And
Yeah.
in fact, if it is that, I think again, we're a little bit more wary of it.
Yeah.
So, I think that's an important one. And I think, just because I've been writing loads of notes down as you've been talking, one of the things you talked about was trends and jumping on trends. And I think sometimes if a trend makes sense to you, or if something is like, oh yes, I've got something for this,
Yeah, of
then
course.
then that's absolutely fine. But I think what's interesting, people talk about jumping on trends because when there's something that's trending, it then gets shown to everyone. Like
Yes.
it gets out there. And I think what can happen is you end up on the trend really late, and by that time everyone's like really over it.
Yes. Yes.
And
That
you're
is my
like,
pet hate with it. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so you then see it and you're like, oh, I could do something with this, and you like, then you don't realize it's been going
Too
on for
late.
like 5 days, and so everyone's kind of fed up with it, and you're
Yeah.
still seeing the tail end of that
Yeah. And there's trend
algorithms.
backlash against you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I think that's an important one. And I think people don't like to hear this, but I think it's so true. But we need to remember that actually marketing and putting our business out there is like a huge part of being in business. It
Yeah.
just is. And I think a lot of times, I work with Jewelers Academy. I work with a lot of creatives and jewelers, and they love the jewelry making.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to selling the jewelry, there's a lot of hate.
Yeah.
There's a lot
I
of
knew
hate.
you were going to say that.
Not from everyone, but it is there. And I think what we need to do is accept that if we want to have a business, we need to make that business visible in some way.
Yeah.
And I think that's in some, it's almost like we need to stop being in denial about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think people are quite panicked about it because, there is a lot of people like me saying, you have to do this, you have to do this, blah, blah, blah. You have to be on every platform. I think it's just about trying to figure out how to do it. Like, as we were saying before, how to do it your way. So just picking, I'm going to give you a news flash. You don't have to be on everything. That's okay. You don't
Yeah.
have to be on TikTok. That's okay. I'm not on
Yeah.
TikTok because I don't have the time to do TikTok. I'm not really on Facebook because I don't love Facebook. I always say to people, first of all, just cut it back, make it really simple with the time you have. So you probably only got a few hours a week. That's fine. Choose the platforms that your customers are most likely to be on, or your ideal audience is most likely to be on. Then think about the platforms you actually like being on, because if you don't like being there, it's going to be an absolute nightmare creating content for it. And you're not going to put the effort in, you're not going to be asked. And it's just going to be, not fantastic. So pick the platforms and just think about creating content consistently, scheduling things. I know people hate scheduling things, but like you don't have to be there every single day. Just a couple of times a week, pick the platform, figure out how many times a week you can be on. I mean, for Instagram, they sort of say you kind of want to be on about 3 times a week to try and get some movability, is that a word? Try and get, people seeing what you're doing, and, so maybe 3 times a week, but then just to repurpose that content and put it on another platform. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to do 3 reels a week every single week. That's what people want you to think. Choose content in a way that works for you, that you feel comfortable with, be consistent, and just pick 1 or 2 platforms and have a main platform and then a second platform. It doesn't need to be all of this stuff that makes you feel really stressed. And like, there's other forms of marketing that people forget that they need to be on. I think when a lot of people come to me to get help with social media, they're like, well, no, I don't have an email marketing list, and I don't go to networking events, and
Yeah.
it's, you can't rely on social media to do every single thing for you. That is not how it works. It helps you be visible, it gives you a shop front, but then also you need to go, like, we know about networking. We both go to loads of networking events. It's Networking is such an important part of getting out and showing people who you are and letting people know and being visible. You can't just rely on being online and putting some posts on Instagram and hoping for the best. It's like having coffee with people after the networking event. Like, I know it takes a lot of time. My diary is so booked next week. I thought I was so free, and then I've got all these meetings in with people. But you have to do this stuff. Like, it's a growing organism, isn't it? You have to do all of these things. They all work together.
Yeah. I think that's such an important thing. I think it is about finding the platforms that work for you, obviously the places that your customers are hanging out.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think a lot of times we think it's all or nothing. I think it's
Yes.
like, I've got to post every day. I've got, and if I'm not doing that, I'm failing.
Yeah.
But actually, that's not how it goes. You can decide what consistency looks like for you, but
Yes.
you need to be consistent, because, and that could be, I think you're right. 3 times a week on Instagram is a good thing, and it should hopefully feel manageable. I think
Yeah.
once you get into it, it can feel manageable, and you
Yeah.
can, like you said, you can do it all in one go and schedule it and go. It's good to check in on it and comment and things like that, but just generally you can do that. But I think
Yeah.
that's it is important to have that and think about that. But we're not necessarily talking so much about email marketing today, but having an email list is super important, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because you're
um
talking to all the people, like, you're giving more information to them, like they're learning more about you. It's not necessarily a sales tactic. It's more about, nurturing those people that you already have in your community, and like, they're your people. They don't belong to Meta, do they? With all the weird glasses and the let's not get talking about the weird glasses.
Definitely. But I think what's interesting, and I think I just want us to kind of chat about, because it is a real thing. I think women often know that we need to be visible, but we
Hmm.
can feel resistant to it, because I think visibility can feel really personal. And why do you think
Yeah.
sometimes people kind of pull back away from it a little bit, being visible?
I think, I think we know this, what I'm about to say, but I think women struggle with it more than men. Um, I think because, yeah, it does feel really personal. So it's, I think it's a few things. So it's like a fear of judgment, obviously, like a pressure to look a certain way, to be liked as well, and to look super polished all the time. People aren't looking at us as much as we're looking at ourselves. And I think, like, there's a real fear of judgment with women, not just appearance, but in that, and I've heard people say this to me before, other people in their industry, they know more than me. So what am I going to give to that conversation? Um, like, I don't know enough. Like, they know loads more. What am I going to contribute to it? But what people are forgetting is that no one else can do you, and you have your own opinion on things. And I think women sometimes can be a little bit scared to give a really strong opinion about something within their industry, because, like, they've got that fear of being judged, like fear of their appearance, fear of being judged, and just pressure. I think they really feel the pressure to show up. So I've got, like, I did a video content workshop at the beginning of the year, and there were people there that had been in business longer than me, 15, 20 years, amazing at what they do, and they just still weren't ready to show up online as themselves, which is really sad because I think sometimes it's time constraints as well. They feel like they don't have the time. They're not sure what to actually post and how to get themselves out there. But just like a fear of not being good enough, which seems crazy to me because it's like, it's not personal. And, like we're not all here. I think they're just thinking that as soon as they put a post on, everyone's going to criticize them. Now, I've done some crazy stuff on social media, not for everyone. I have done a little bit of dancing, pointy, some weird stuff.
What was that thing you did with your son with the slapping around the face? What was that?
Oh, so we did the tortilla challenge. You make it sound like child abuse.
No. So I apologise
a little bit.
Not what,
No. I'm
it's
kidding.
not what I meant to
I'm
sound
kidding.
like.
So it was during lockdown, and he wanted to do the tortilla challenge. So if you don't know what the tortilla challenge is, it was a thing on TikTok. I think he was really little at the time as well. I think he was only about 9. And you do rock, paper, scissors. You fill your mouth with water. Then you do rock, paper, scissors. And whoever wins, you get to slap the other person with the tortilla. So I won, which was amazing. I don't think anyone was prepared for the sound of how loud the slap of the tortilla was on his little face, and also how hard I hit him. Also, he spat the water out and laughed his head off. But I mean, you do you. No, and do you know what? Not one person criticized me. And like no one, touch wood, I'm going to get all the trolls now, but no one has ever criticized me in the 10 years of showing up on there. And I mean, I've done stuff where people could have easily criticized me because it's a bit rubbish. But I just think if the more you put yourself out there, and I know this is difficult coming from me because I'm out there all the time, but I couldn't give a toss. The more you put yourself out there, the less you care about it, and the more it is giving your story and making your business story stronger, and you're repelling the people that you don't want to work with and bringing the people towards you that you do really want to work with. The more you are, and the more like your brand vibe you show up as, you're going to attract those people. There's someone that I worked with recently. We were talking about her earlier, who runs a B&B. It is like a B&B. And I caught up with her yesterday, actually, and I did some Instagram video training with her when she was probably about 4 years ago now. And she just wasn't that confident on camera. She wasn't that confident on video and stuff. And she says to me now, like, she's just pivoted with her business a little bit and she has blown up. She's been contacted by people in Wales. She's been contacted for, I don't think she'll mind me saying this, I don't know if she's actually going to do it. She's been contacted for a TV show. And I mean, I'm not saying we all want to get TV shows out of social media, but it's because she has not been scared. She just absolutely took the advice, became herself all over social media. She was already herself, but she brought herself to social media. She brought her business there, and she just did not care what people said, and she's loving it, and she's so amazing at what she does. And it's because she just started, like no one's confident when they first start. You're not confident when you first start, and that's what stops people. And I mean, I think the thing that builds confidence, which is a real catch-22 situation, is you start to get confident when you start to see results, which is great. But you're not going to get results until you put yourself out there and you start to be visible and you start to be remembered. That's really hard.
It is. I've written down loads of different things, but I think that one of be good straight away. I think if I'm not good straight away, then I'm not going to do it. And I think that really does hold people back in so many different areas. Like this is not just about socials, it's about like anything, or not just about visibility, it's about anything. But I think sometimes what we need to do is lower the bar. It's like, I just need to just do a post and put it out there. And I think it's also the same for networking. It's like, if I'm nervous to go networking, what I need to do is I need to speak to 3 people and then I can leave. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
I love that.
make it smaller. Like,
Yeah.
make the expectation on yourself smaller, because I
Yeah.
think what happens is we do see people like you who, you've been working on this for 10 years. This is something that you enjoy doing, and and you would say, as I do, I was not great at it straight away.
Oh, no.
It
And
doesn't
I've
work
left my
that way.
rubbish posts up there. I'd left them all there.
Yeah.
So if you go back, you can see how bad I was. I'm not taking them off. They're bad.
No.
Yeah.
But I think that again comes back to this idea of that you're a real person. Because if
Yes.
you've got some of this old stuff, I think sometimes people want to do something, and then they're like, oh, I'm just going to delete it, I'm going to pull it away. But actually, you don't do that. Frankly, no one is going to look back on that stuff. They're
No.
just not going to do it. No one is as interested, as you mentioned this before. No one's as interested in it as you are, as like obsessive about it as you are. And just leave it there. Show people like what what you did. I used to do when they were a thing, like those lip sync trends and all.
Oh, me
If you
too.
go back on
Yeah.
mine, there's all kinds of stuff like that, but they're not really a thing anymore, and
No.
that's fine. And I'm just like, yeah, okay, it just shows I've been in business for a long time, and that those things that maybe if I look at them, I'm going to go, oh, bit cringy. No, that's fine. They're going to stay.
Yeah, because no one's expecting us to be Steven Spielberg. We're meant to just be good at our jobs. And then we're putting
Yeah.
some stuff up to show people, hey, here's what I do. Here's what I'm really good at. Come and find me. We're not meant to be creating proper movies. That's fine, unless you're a film director, in which case you probably should have really good video content on your social media.
In which case this is not really for you, I
Yeah.
don't think. But I think part of it comes back to, without us necessarily always being conscious of it, it comes back to a feeling of safety, doesn't it? I think if
Yeah.
we feel unsafe and we feel like we're pushing out of our comfort zone and all of that kind of stuff, and if we feel like the imposter,
Yes.
then a lot of times people are like, I'm just gonna wait. I'm just gonna wait and wait and wait. But actually, the thing that gets me? Oh God, how am I gonna say this out loud?
Love this.
She's like, I love this already. But it's when I'm like, if I pull, I don't do it so much anymore, but in the past, if I've pulled back and kind of like, oh, I don't want to talk about that, I don't want to say about that, I'm not ready to talk about that. And then I see someone who is blatantly not as experienced as me going and talking about it. And I'm like,
Yes.
I'm doing it. It's like I'm doing it. And sometimes actually I've heard this as like jealousy being like a treasure map. It's like, it shows you what you want. When you see someone and you're like, oh, there's something about that I really wish I was like, or I really wish I was. It's actually go in and think about, like, what is it about that I want? Because when I see someone doing something and you're like, oh damn, I could have done that, or I could have, I'm much more experienced than them at this, or much more qualified than them at this. And that actually helps push me forwards, because it's like, no, I'm not holding back anymore.
Yeah. See, that's good. I do see that a lot as well, actually, myself. And I do still have a little bit of imposter syndrome 10 years in. But like if someone asks me to do something and it feels a bit scary, my rule is kind of to say yes. See, I'm even like panicked saying it. I'm not even being asked to do anything. I say yes, and then I just think I'll just panic about doing it closer to the time. That's the way I've started to approach things, because otherwise you just miss out on things, and it's never as bad as you think it's going to be. Like no one's that confident. Confident is after you've done it. No one's 100% confident in everything.
Yeah.
Men are, I suppose, aren't they? Elon Musk is pretty confident.
Maybe. I'm gonna go. Well, yeah. I'm gonna go. Have you seen these ones where it is men. Men are saying, oh yeah, I would definitely beat like a professional women. Like I would definitely like win in a sprint against a professional athlete. Or I would definitely play basketball better than a professional woman. And then when they actually do, they are left in the dust. But they think it, they believe it.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is going on?
Sorry, there's one about like landing a plane. Could you land a plane?
I've heard that.
Oh, I don't even like sitting on a plane. That's bad enough. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. It's a
Honestly, I
confidence thing,
mean,
isn't it? It's like the job thing, like, where men, this has been used so many times, but like when men will apply for a job if they can do 50%. If women can only do 90%, they won't apply for a job.
yeah,
That really
I
sticks in
know.
my head. Yeah.
Yeah. And it is so true. But I think for me, the problem we have is that we do, I think what you said earlier, we wait until we feel confident. But I think what we need to do is we need to build self-trust over confidence. Because if we trust
Yes.
ourselves and like, I've always managed to deal with this,
Yeah.
whatever's happened, I've always managed to do it 100% of times, I have survived.
Yeah.
and and that's what we need to build.
Yeah.
Confidence will come,
A
but the
hundred
self-trust
percent.
is the thing we need.
And like, what's the worst that can happen? Bringing it back to content again, the worst thing that can happen is that, okay, people just won't like that post. Well, that doesn't matter. Well, that's not gonna, you're not gonna remember that when you're 95. Oh yeah, you're not gonna give a toss about the post in September
Yeah.
2026, unless you've
Yeah.
done absolutely nothing with your life, in which case you do have bigger problems. But
Yes.
yeah, I just, like, when I started my business, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no savings. I'd done my course, I had one client, and I just thought, do you know what? The worst thing that can happen is this is going to fail. I don't like my job in an office anyway. It's awful. Some of the people are really annoying. At least if I'm broke and I'm working for myself, I don't have to deal with these people. So I just started it. Like, you never know. It's like, also like mums, when you have a baby, you're never fully ready. You're never going to be fully ready to have a baby, ever. You're
Yeah.
never going to be, I'm 100% ready. My house is exactly how I want it. I've got all the money. I've got all the knowledge. No one is 100% ready for that. You just go and do it, and you do it. And it's fine. Like,
Yeah.
most of the things in life you're not 100% confident on. You just give it a go and see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. And you've been talking particularly about this kind of slow media stuff and building community
Hmm.
particularly over content. How would
Yes.
you define a community, do you think?
I would say community is about conversations, not content, first of all. Um, I suppose I would define it by, so you have an audience when you go online and they consume your content, but your community actually contributes. So, like, they're people who care, they're people who respond, they're people who might share your things in stories. Um, you can fake an audience, but you can't fake a community, I
Yeah.
think. Like, they notice when you're gone. They message you, are you okay? I mean, maybe I've just got a really interested community, but like, it's part of building a sustainable business. I think building a community is a really important thing, and it's really overlooked. And we look at numbers and we look at followers, but that's not the whole story. The community are the people that come back. They recommend you, they talk about you when you're not in the room. We know how important that is. And I think building a community is not just about an online community. I know I bang on about this a lot, but you need to go out and see people and put the time in. And because building a community should be like one of the very first things that you do when you start your business, like start to build it makes selling easier. You've got better relationships, you have repeat buyers. Like, there's so many good things that come out of putting the time in to have a community, but people just see the numbers and the audience, don't they? And it's just, I've got this many followers, blah, 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 like, they might not even be real. But the community are the people that actually give a toss. And, I think it's really important, as well as a business owner, to have people when you're having a really bad day, you can message them and go, I'm having a bit of a rubbish day. Do you want to go for a coffee next week? And, like, I'm in a few WhatsApps with people, and sometimes we'll see something online and we'll be like, oh, can't believe that. Or, did you see this business is closed down? That's really sad. Like, you really need to build that community when you start your own business, because it's really lonely.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And I think that's what's so interesting. It's the difference between an audience and stats and numbers and likes and followers and all of that, and knowing the people
Yeah.
and
Yes.
and and having people who will refer you and who will mention you in conversation and who who become your champions as well. And maybe they don't, work with you, but they will refer you. There's so much that can happen from a real proper connection.
Yeah. And I think people disregard that a bit. Like sometimes people go to networking and they expect to get sales out of it instantly. But I sort of go and think, I'm just going to, maybe I'm approaching it not in the best business sense, but I'm just going to go and see if there's anyone nice to talk to. And, you know, I'll maybe connect with a couple of people if they're the right sort of people. But, I'm not there to make 100 sales in an hour because that's not really sustainable. Like I want to build friendships with people and, like I want to build a proper community. I think we're really lucky in Edinburgh though as well because there's a
Yeah.
lot of networking events. It feels like a small place. Everyone knows everyone. And there's a really big supportive small business community for the most of it. I think it's a really good place to be able to build a community. And it's such an important thing. It's not about numbers, it's about like proper people and relationships, because that's what business runs on, isn't it? It's relationships, it's people remembering you and recommending you. It's like who you know, isn't it? That can be a really big advantage. And yeah, community's not really talked about enough, I think, because people want the quick win and the quick sale and the viral stuff and the big numbers. But it's much better to have people in your corner talking about you in a good way.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think you're right to say that we live in a city, but a small city, and there are lots of opportunities here. And so if you live somewhere quite small, then maybe you don't necessarily have the same opportunities. But
Yeah,
but
that's true.
think laterally about how can I create them? How who can I go with who can I invite for a coffee? Like how can I do that in my local area? And also, there's a lot more online networking stuff available now that you can
Yeah.
become a part of as well. So, you know, I think it is both. It can be both, depending on where you are. But you look for it, and you might find there's more out there than you realize.
Yeah.
Um,
And if
so
there's
yeah,
not, start it. I started my own. I started my own 9 years
you
ago
did.
and it grew. And I mean, it sort of started by mistake because I went to my very first networking event. I'd never been to networking. I came out and it was awful. It was not for me. And so I put something on Facebook and asked if anyone had a business, and because I didn't know anyone that ran their own business and wanted to go for a coffee. And I mean, it just sort of grew from there. And then I realized I'd have to create some sort of group because all these people responded. So, I mean, even if you're in a small town and it's just 3 or 4 of you, it's
Yeah.
such a good thing to do. It's just such a good thing to build. And a lot of the time it was just me and 2 other people for the first year. But I kept doing it and it's built into a thing, and whether it's 3 people or 20 people, it's still going to be useful. You need the support when you run your own business.
Yeah, definitely. Right, fabulous. Well, we've talked a lot, and I have a million things I could ask you about. But what would you say to a woman who's listening who knows that she's hiding a bit and is waiting until she feels ready to show up?
I think I would say, look, you're never going to be 100% ready. That's the first thing. You're never going to be 100. You're never going to look probably the way you want to look, because we're all so critical of ourselves. And I would say when I'm watching other people's content, I'm never looking at their hair or their eyebrows or is she too skinny? Is she too fat? I mean, that sounds like an awful sentence now, doesn't it, in these days? But we're so critical of ourselves. No one is looking at you the way you are looking at yourself. They're listening to what you've got to say. And I mean, social media is the best, easiest way to get your message out there about what you do, what you want to be known for. And you need to be visible for people to be able to find you. And, that, as we were talking about earlier, the more you do it, the more confident you will get. I know that it is a really scary thing, and perhaps you're not going to go on video straight away. Maybe you're going to add some photos or do it that way. It's about finding the way that works for you. But, the worst thing that can possibly happen is that people just aren't going to like your post. Who cares? if you don't get comments, that's fine. I don't get comments on all of my posts. Not all of my
No.
posts are the most amazing posts ever. It's not. People are putting so much pressure on themselves that every piece of content has to be the most amazing thing. It has to get all these hits and blah, blah, blah. You're not there to do that. You're not there to become, I can't think of one, Kylie Jenner. I couldn't think of any reference that was young enough for now. You're not there to be Kylie Jenner. You're there to show up. Here's my business. Here's what I want you to know about my business. Um, and just put it out there, or come to me. I'll give you a hand. But yeah, I hate that. I hate that people are really scared to put themselves out there and they feel like they don't have anything to contribute or they don't look the right way. It just makes me feel really sad because, like, I'm not a supermodel. I'm far from a supermodel, but I'm just going on there telling people what I do and this is how I can help them. And that's all you really need to do with social media. You don't need to become famous. You don't need to look a certain way. Just go for it, because what is the worst that can happen, really?
Yeah. Okay. And my last question is, what becomes possible when women stop chasing more and start building deeper connections?
I think, yeah, you're letting go of all that panic and all that stress. I think you get better conversations with people. You feel more yourself. I think marketing will begin to feel lighter and less stressful. Um, and you start to build a stronger reputation for yourself. You start to get known. You start to build brand awareness. Stop being so panicked about all the things. I think I'd rather build a business that is remembered by my real customers rather than having, a billion followers. I think just putting yourself out there and being who you are and letting people know what you do, that is really going to help you to build your business and get known and start to build your community.
Mm, I love that. And I think it's so true that we don't need, as small businesses, we don't want, like, it'd be nice to have the problem of having too many customers, but we just need the
Yeah.
right people, the
Yeah.
right customers, the right people in our community and on our side. And that's what we're building. It's not about, trying to go viral or and actually going viral can be a negative thing because
Yeah.
you can end up getting on the radar of exactly all the wrong people anyway.
Yeah.
So it's about connection. It's about building that with people. And I definitely think, go and check out Marti, because she is showing how she does it, and I think it's amazing. So I will share all your links in the show notes, but where can people find you, and what work do you do with people? Share a little bit about what you do as well.
So probably the best place to find me would be on Instagram at WeBitSocial. I'm also on LinkedIn, but I probably spend the most time there. I have a new website, which is very exciting, it'll be in the show notes, but it's www. Do we still say that? WeBitSocial.com. So what I do is I tend to work with business owners to teach them how to do things for themselves, how to become more visible with the time they have. Because it's all very well and good to be like, here's a big template of things, post 5 times a week. You're not going to do that. So I tend to come in and work with people personally with their business, with the time they have. So I do one-to-one training on Instagram and LinkedIn, because they're my 2 favorites. You got to do what you love, online and in person. I also do group training for that. And I also do something called the monthly marketing mate. I love it. It's my favorite thing. I've launched it recently. So I will work with you for 6 months. We will go through all the issues you're having. We will start with your profile and we will go from there. I work with you month to month over 6 months. There is homework, there is notes, and I get you on track so that you have a proper strategy for your Instagram and for your LinkedIn, and you know how to roll it out. So by the end of the 6 months, you will be confident enough to put yourself out there. And you will feel as though you know what you're doing when it comes to Instagram and LinkedIn, because the rules change so much. And I know that it can be really overwhelming for people. So I sort of created this as a way to teach people, work with them, so that by the end, they're feeling really confident with things. I love working with people one to one. I just find it really interesting. And I love seeing people who were not posting video content, for example, and then they're out there and they're posting video content all over the place. I also do a few workshops throughout the year. This is quite a lot of things. I've just gone off on a tangent, and I run networking events in Edinburgh called Coffee and Chat, which are very friendly um, and super fun. And actually, Anna is going to be my speaker at the September event,
Yeah.
which is very
September,
exciting.
yeah, really looking forward to that. So, well, thank you so much for that, Marty. That was such a great conversation. I think hopefully it'll be inspiring to people to just go out there and just do the next post. That's all you need to do. Do your next
Yes.
post, and we're there. So, thank you so much for listening to the Good Girl Rebellion podcast. Remember that it is time.